dream cream. So again, appreciate you guys letting us know what's up. But this is going to be a two-step. So this is going to be a water phase and an oil phase to this process. And we went ahead and started our water phase because we need to make something and get it to temperature first. So Mary, do you want to go over what we already started without them?
Absolutely. So our dream cream is actually a cellulite fighting body lotion. And as you all may know, caffeine topically is amazing for cellulite, and the best way to get caffeine is coffee. So what we have is about 350 grams of distilled water. You want distilled water because we want to make sure it's pure, there's no impurities, no creepy crawlies in there. And then you actually need to, or what I did is I boiled it for 20 minutes to make sure, again, it's nice and sterile. And then I put the coffee grounds directly into the water, and I gave it a good boil to extract as much essence out of the coffee as well. Then what I did is I strained that out through a filter to make sure all the grounds are out, and we brought it back down to just above room temperature. So that's our water phase. We're going to start building the base. So what I have right now is a double boiler. So I just have some water that is boiling in my pot, and I have a glass bowl in here. There is a nice gap between the water and the glass bowl, so we're not getting direct heat, just that steam that's warming everything. And we're going to start to create our oil phase before we add the water phase. So as I add ingredients, Kim is going to tell you why they're all amazing. So I'm going to start with a little bit of cocoa butter.
Okay, so I know that we've all talked about cocoa butter. You guys will see it across the market as a base ingredient. Obviously, there's something in there that has to be our functional and something that has to be our performance. This is one of those bases that really can fit both categories. Obviously, we know it's been around forever for its hydrating, emollient capabilities, as well as its nice texture. The next thing that Mary is going to add is an emulsifying wax. So emulsifying wax is usually a combination of getting in there and using paraffin along with
a little bit of beeswax.
A little beeswax. And when we talk about emulsifying wax, the reason we need to add that into a product, again, it's a binder or emulsifier. So you guys already know that emulsifiers really make two more incompatible things blend a lot nicer and give us some body. Those need to be melted down and blended together, and then Mary's actually going to take our stearic acid. So stearic acid is going to be added in. It is also going to be in there as a binder or emulsifier. So when you start to mix product or you start to mix ingredients together, it's kind of like when you're mixing batter. Sometimes you get that lumpy, chunky consistency. A lot of the ingredients we're going to blend together need to be emulsified together, so they actually are going to be chemically compatible. We don't want that separation or that chunky texture or strange pieces put in there. So the stearic acid is one of the ingredients that we emulsify in to help this have a much better viscosity or texture to it. Some of them also will add different ingredients. They're going to give us that pearlized finish, and those we'll talk about later. Two of the other things, once she gets this blended together, two of the other ingredients that she's going to be adding are going to be our oil and our vitamin E oil. That would complete our oil phase. That is going to then get blended in with our water phase. Miss Mary already told us that she made strong coffee. Can't get too close, but I can smell it's still strong coffee. But some of our benefits of coffee, we know that when we ingest them, clearly we're looking for that stimulant. We're looking for the caffeine on kind of an energy level. We get a vat of it in the morning. But we're also looking at the fact that it's high in B3. You guys can probably already tell me, you're already popping on with those chats, that niacin. Okay, so looking at the skin and cell regenerative properties and cell turnover properties with that niacin in there is going to be very beneficial. It also has chlorogenic acid in it. So coffee is high in chlorogenic acid, and what that actually does, it's going to be beneficial to multiple skin types because it is antibacterial. So we like anything antibacterial right now, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
But we also really appreciate the anti-inflammatory. So there are antioxidants in coffee, so that's what makes it better than our caffeinated soda, among other things. But it also has those anti-inflammatory. So they're going to be really good for hyperpigmentation. So post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is also going to be a benefit when we're putting this lotion on.
So now that I have my base waxes and emulsifiers melted in, again, it's our cocoa butter, it's our natural beeswax binder and some stearic acid. We want to make sure that's all melted together before we add our liquid oil phase. So I'm going to start with about 50 milliliters of sweet almond oil. So why don't you tell us a little bit about sweet almond, why I make these two come together beautifully.
As we start to look at sweet almond oil, again, can anybody tell me in the chat, are we looking at sweet almond oil as an essential oil or a carrier oil? Okay, so you're right, it is a carrier oil. So this is going to be one that's very similar in viscosity, very much like jojoba oil, as far as being similar in consistency and makeup as some of the natural oils in your skin. It is going to add that, again, nice cream and texture. It is a very good hydrator. And you see that Mary is stealing the vitamin E oil.
So yeah, you may have noticed that once I put the sweet almond oil in, it did bring my temperature down, so I had to make sure that it re-melted and re-binded to each other. And now I'm going to add vitamin E oil. And there's a big misconception about vitamin E oil, Kim, and what is that?
I think a lot of people look at vitamin E oil, and because it is antioxidant, because it is put in there for skin benefit, people think that, oh, it's antioxidant, it's a preservative. But in fact, it's not a preservative. It's used in a lot of products, a lot of skincare products, especially when there's any kind of a water base put into that product for its extending of the shelf life. Okay, so it's not really truly a preservative, which is why we have something else to add at the end, but it's going to go in and give us some of the skin benefit. It's also going to be a pH adjuster, and it also, Mary will tell you a few more of the benefits. We already know about, you know, kind of how we use it at different times of our life, but it is going to be put in there to really help extend the shelf life. So it helps balance out and helps work with some of these ingredients.
Absolutely. So. Plus, remember, we're working on a cellulite cream, so the vitamin E is also really great for stretch marks. Not just for preventing, but also repairing if they're fresh. Right. So a lot of people don't know this. We need to start prevention of stretch marks, like let's say if we're expecting, or if we're working out in the gym and we're trying to bulk up. But usually a fresh stretch mark, we're talking about under 6 months, usually 3 months or less. That's that magic time where we can really prevent those from permanently setting in. So I'm going to now add my water phase into my oil phase. And again, this is a little cooler than what I have in my double boiler. So I'll notice that my oils might start, my emulsifiers might start coming together. So as I whisk, I'm going to make sure everything comes back up to temperature. So before we start to actually emulsify it with Kim, I have a nice homogeneous mixture.
So again, you'll notice what Mary's working with is the induction plate, and she's working on that double boiler. When we're talking about working with product, working with stuff, some of you may have already made candy, and the difference between caramel, toffee, and crunchy and burnt is a very small window. So making sure that we're really working, that nothing, she's constantly moving with this once she blends the two of them together, and that we're not working flat on a hot plate. We want that steam, we want that area where if you were to make candy in the microwave, you're never going to put it at 100% power. It's the same type of idea where you're getting that warmth and you're keeping that temperature, but it's not going to have hot spots because it's not sitting right on a particular heat element.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an important part of this as well. It looks kind of like my coffee in the morning.
It does. It kind of has that new whipped coffee that everyone's drinking.
Nice little cream to it.
But you'll see I'm keep moving it because I want it to really come back together, start to bind, because we're getting that hydrophilic and that hydrophobic areas mixed together. If any of you are cookers, it's kind of like tempering your eggs or tempering your chocolate so it doesn't separate. So now I have a nice liquid mixture. So what I'm going to do is Kim's going to pass me her bowl. I'm going to add my mixture into her emulsifying bowl. It's nice and roasty toasty. And it looks like a lovely Starbucks latte.
And I'm going to go ahead and start to use my mixer here while Mary talks about some of the skin benefits of the product.
Absolutely. So what Miss Kim is doing right now is she is actually going to start adding air into it because we want this nice, light, and frothy. Now this is not a body butter, it's a nice lotion, but we still want to get that nice whipped texture in there because it's going to give it really nice spreadability. Because remember, cocoa butter is a dense emollient, and our stearic acid is an emollient, it's a binder. Plus we have the beeswax, again, it's an emulsifying binder. So we want to get a nice body to it. And if you kind of are able to take a look, it went from looking like a hot latte to kind of like, almost like a cake batter. Exactly. So now that she's got a nice whip to it, she's going to be adding her magic potion. Her magic potion has a natural preservative in it, as well as some essential oils, because we're going to really kick this up a notch and make sure that we get some amazing results. So besides her natural preservative, she also has in there essential oil extracts from coffee beans, as well as some chocolate essential oils as well. So we have not just a coffee smell, but a beautiful, like almost like Frappuccino mocha smell. Something that like smells delicious. So she's going to be adding a little bit more air in there. It's important when you're making emulsifications that you do use a blender. You could use a tabletop blender, but an emulsifying stick blender or an immersion blender is the best because it really lets you get in there and not only get into all those nooks and crannies, but she could also tilt it at almost a 45-degree angle, and it's going to pull more air in there and whip it up like whipped cream, okay? So once she has it nice and frothy, just like a couple more seconds, it's still going to look really liquidy because it's now got to come down to room temperature. To give you an idea, right now that product's at about 145 degrees, which is pretty roasty toasty. So as most things, as it starts to cool, it's going to thicken up and it's going to become this beautiful dream cream. And what we're going to do is we would let it cool anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the temperature that your house is at. And then you'll see in front of her, she does have some beautiful clear jars that she can package her cream in. So that little amount we made is going to do about 16 ounces. I'm on mute. Oh, could everyone please mute their mic because some people are having a little bit of difficulty hearing. So anyway, so now Kim can kind of just let its product do its thing. You do not want to put this in the refrigerator. You actually want it to come to temperature at room temperature. Because what can happen if you bring an emulsified product together and you cool it too quickly?
We're going to get that separation of that product. It's not going to go in and temper. It's thinking about, it's even when you look at, you know, making a cake, we talk about the ingredients being important and the direction you do them. Just like if you whip your eggs in and you're putting the flour in right away, you're going to get a drier consistency of that product because you've overworked that product. So if we do it so quickly, we're going to get that water or those sweats, and those products are going to separate out.
Exactly. So if we let it come to room temperature, again, between 20-40 minutes, give or take, and then jar it, we're going to have a lovely, almost like whipped cream consistency. If we threw that in the fridge and cooled it quickly, we're going to have like cottage cheese. Yeah. Still would work, but just not very appetizing to work with, right?
Certainly wouldn't want it in a clear jar.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's our dream cream. Great cream for your body for cellulite, helping prevent as well as repair some stretch marks. And I mean, we all know with all those essential oils, especially the extra essential oils of coffee putting in there, it gets in your bloodstream within 3 minutes, so it's a good way to wake you up in the morning too. Don't use it at night. Oh my gosh, I'd never fall asleep.
Not the dreams. Not the things dreams are made of.
Unless you're like binging.
Yeah.
If you're binging Netflix, it'd be a great cream to put on. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us again for Cosmetic Kitchen. We'll see you next Friday, and I would love to see in the chat as well as on G-Team what you'd like to see us make next, because we have so many ideas, but we want to know what you want to see.
Thanks so much,
Thanks
guys.
so much. Have a great day.